Hey everyone, it's Austin here at Milford Photo. Today, just going to be going over a basic setup and how to balance a gimbal. Here we have the Ronin S2. The first step basically in balancing a gimbal, you're going to want to make sure all of your different axes are unlocked so that they can swing freely. This way you can get it into position and you can kind of roughly visualize how it's going to be set up. And then once it's in this kind of a position, I generally lock two of the axes, so you're only really focusing on one at a time. Makes it very easy to not be just completely lost as to what's going on with the gimbal. So you want to make sure this side axis, this plate mounting is unlocked, and slide your plate in. And you kind of want to give a rough idea of where you're putting it. Thankfully, DJI has some markers on the side, so you can kind of know where you're balancing it. You can even scratch in a little indent if you want to mark it for the future. Next step is you want to make sure for this axis that the camera doesn't fall forward like it is now. And there's two ways to do that. First is going to be using this little gear and sliding the camera back so that it roughly rests on its own. So about there. But also it needs to rest stationary when you swing it back like this. So in this case, we need to raise up the gimbal a little bit. So to do that, you unlock this lever and you can just go up a bit. And about here, it wants to stay perfectly in position in both ways. So that axis is good. So keep that axis unlocked. And then next you want to unlock this next axis. That's the roll axis. So you want to make sure, just let it go and see where it wants to roll. And you want to do the opposite. So in this case, we want to bring it over more to the right so that it doesn't roll as much, and get that kind of fine-tuned, lock it into place and see. You want it to basically be able to stay wherever it is. So here we need to adjust a little bit more on the roll axis. Now it's rolling even more. So it's just really a game of trial and error. You really just need to keep going at it until you get the axes perfectly balanced. So there, where it's perfectly stationary, there's where you want it. And the last axis is this axis here. And the way to check for this is you want to tilt this forward, and you don't want the camera to do this. So right now we're kind of close, but it just needs a little bit of adjusting. I'm going to move this forward a little bit. It's pretty close, it just needs a little bit more. Lock all of them into position. And then now it's pretty much balanced. And the best way to check first is to turn it on. And you'll see it kind of come to life once it powers up. If it starts violently shaking or anything, turn it off and you're really off balance and off axis. So now you can see, no matter which angle I go, it's balanced. And the nice thing about these Ronin gimbals, if you just turn the handle left or right, you can set this up in the app, but it'll pan for you. You can adjust the speed. A double tap of this side button, or the front trigger, centers it. So if you have it way off to the side and you want to center it, centers just like that. And now we're going to jump into the app and show you a few more features of the app. So now we've got the app here, and on the app, once you have your Ronin paired with the DJI app, you can perform a balance test. And that's just going to make sure that all of the motors are within their kind of operating parameters. Make sure you're not overworking anything and accidentally burning out the motors. So it's going to have you to start tilt about 15 degrees. And it's kind of going to show you where I'm actually going to tilt it on this side because I have the two points of the tripod. And then you just hit begin test. And it's going to move the motor slowly. Just check to make sure nothing's being overworked. It's not something you have to do every time you balance it, but if it's your first time setting it up, you definitely want to make sure that you're not burning anything out, you're not overworking the motors. And another key is you want to do the balance. You want to do the balancing with everything on the camera and in position like you would want. You want your zoom to be at the position you want, all your cards, your batteries in the camera ready to go, because any bit of weight change in the gimbal and on the camera can affect the balancing, and you might have to rebalance if you add too much weight after the fact. So our balance test was all good. So now we know it's totally balanced. Don't worry, we're supposed to do this. So now in the app, we've gone to our motor parameters and we're tuning the motors. So this is just going to check so that it knows how much power it needs to give to each axis, just for a smoother operation for better control of the gimbal. And then in here, you can also adjust your settings for pan and tilting, follow speed. So if you want to increase the speed that it follows your hand when you pan like this, that's also something you can do right from the app. The app really unlocks all the features and all the control. The gimbal does have a small screen on it, on the RS2 specifically, that you can adjust some basic settings from, but really the app helps you get everything set up. It's kind of a set and forget for some things though. Once you have your user profile set up with how you like your axis movement speeds and everything like that, then it's not normally something you have to change in the future. So if you have everything, if you remember your markings and you have a similar setup that you're putting on the gimbal every time, then really it can be as simple as just sliding it onto the gimbal and getting going. All right, thank you very much for checking out our video on basic setup and balancing of your gimbal. Don't forget to share this with anyone who might have a gimbal and is not 100% sure to use it. And I hope to see you in the store to check out our selection of gimbals. Thank you.